Okay guys, so it's a retro card, so we're going to test on my retro bench. This is a Q9550 Intel CPU that is combined with a mainboard of Asus back in the day. It's a P5NT Deluxe version with triple SLI option, and of course we're going to get some good memory. That is 4 GB of very nice overclock memory. So in combination with this graphic card, it's more than enough. So let's take a close look at the specifications of the card. Code name G92, cores 112, clock speed 600 MHz, the memory 512 MB GDDR3. So, but what is interesting with this card is that this thing is an 8 series card, but it was a newer generation, and it fell between a couple of cards that I've reviewed before. Quite interesting because this thing doesn't consume that amount of energy like the previous models, didn't get really hot anymore, still very hot but not that hot like the previous ones. So it was a very interesting card. So let's take a close look at the other models I've reviewed. So having here the 8800 GTX, this monster card. Therefore it also has the 8800 Ultra and the 8800 GTS that I've all reviewed here on the channel. But we take a close look, where does this thing belong? So basically we're going to move it all a little bit around. The 8800 GT, in my opinion, belongs between the GTS and the GTX. It's not better than the GTX, and that is something we're going to show here on the channel, because when you're looking at the performance of the 8800 GT, it is interesting, and it was, if you're looking at the power consumption and everything that could, it's quite interesting in my opinion. Alright, so the card has been plugged in, drivers have been reinstalled, I'm ready to go. I hope you're ready. We're going to try out the first game, my favorite game, Blaze Rush. Is a pretty cool game, it looks fantastic. We're going to also try this on full HD. Everything put to high, if to come to the quality. Okay, Blaze Rush. And this is a game that is not super demanding, including for the CPU, but just see how it runs on the 8800 GT. Okay, so the 8800 GT is just perfect for when you want to play some basic indie games, some older stuff. As you can see, it's not even using full potential of the graphics card. And that also includes for the CPU. Now go! Fun fact, when we're going to get a Cuphead, it's not really looking like a demanding game, but you can see it pushes the graphics card to 80% of usage. Nevertheless, this is quite a demanding game, but it is still playable now in 2021 on this very old graphics card. So for Ridge Racer, it will be the same story like the previous graphic card. It will give you, let's say, a 30 FPS gameplay. I think it will ruin part of the game because this game is based on speed. But nevertheless, this is what you're going to get when you're having a single 8800 GT inside your gaming machine. It's so cool that you're having this, let's say, little older but still budget graphics card, and you can still play some three-dimensional games. Okay, so let's try Saints Row number 4, and what I did notice with this game is that even that this card is between the 8800 GTS and the 8800 GTX, yeah, you can see the results of the game are not that great. I'm even dipping to 28 FPS when I'm just playing, and that's something that didn't happen with the GTX or, let's say, the GTAs. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the performance with this game. Next up, for one of my favorite fighting games, Mortal Kombat 9. Not super demanding, by the way, Mortal Kombat X doesn't even boot up. So let's try this game and let's see how the performance are on this card.
Vengeance will be mine. Bring it. Round 1. Fight. Get over here.
Okay, so this game, Bioshock Infinite, I already tested a couple of times on the different cards, and it is not really holding up at the moment with 44, 43 FPS. It's not a great performance. I think it's similar with the 8800 GTS at the moment. So you can see that it sometimes slightly goes up, but that's the best performance we're going to get.
But does it run? Crisis! Let's find out.
So if you have seen my previous videos, the 8800 GTX still struggles with this game, because this was just the graphic card killer back in the day with the 8 series. So, and the 8800 GT is between the GTX and the GTS, so the performance will not be better. But the game is still kinda playable.
Camuflaje activado. Blindaje máximo. Camuflaje activado. Blindaje máximo. Camuflaje activado. Blindaje máximo.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in my previous video we have spoken of the 8800 GT. We did some in-depth review about the specifications and where does it belong in the 8 series lineup. But okay, in this video we are going to double the fun because we are going to make an SLI of the 8800 GT. My mainboard has the option for triple SLI. Nevertheless, it is not possible with this version because the 8800 GT only supports 2 graphic cards to be connected to each other with the SLI option. And that's what we're going to do. And I'm very curious, how will the performance be? Will this be a double performance, double the fun? Or is this going to be one freaking nightmare? So let's find out. Okay guys, so let's do an upgrade. Okay, the first card is on its place and let's add the second card to the mainboard. We need to put them together like this. Okay, so let's connect the SLI connector so the cards can communicate with each other. Of course, not to forget, plug in the second extra power plug for the graphic card and let's boot up the system. Of course, I needed to do a reboot with the system itself because I needed to recognize the second card. Drivers need to be optimized for it. And not to forget, we need to activate the SLI function in the Nvidia software. Okay, so we're going to skip the games like Blaze Rush, Cuphead, all the indie game stuff because it will run just fine on one single card. I want to focus what can we do with 2 cards and the more demanding games that we're not going to get 60 FPS on. Ridge Racer Unbounded with a single graphic card had only 30 FPS. And that was the best result we're going to get with all of these 8800 GT or GTS or GTX cards. But when we're going to put the second card in SLI mode, the performance were getting quite a big boost. And when you take a close look at specs, you can see that we're running 60 FPS and we're using both cards perfectly. Quite interesting in my opinion. One single card was not enough to run Saints Row 4, and that was a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. But okay, so when we're going to play the same game with the same kind of way we played it, let's see what happens when we're going to grab ourselves the second card in SLI mode. Because now it dips to 23-24 FPS. So this is a great example that SLI is not functioning for every single game. And when you're looking at this, you can see that the FPS are even worse than with a single card. Now it's peaking to 42, but in the end when you're going to do the nuke attack and it's going to consume a lot of graphical power, you will see the result is maybe slightly better, but it is in general not an improvement like the previous game we have checked out. So when you take a close look at Bioshock Infinite, there was a game that really surprised me. But before we're going to get into that, is that when you're looking at the FPS, you can see it runs around 45, maybe 50 sometimes, but it is very unstable. And when you're going to get a lot of stuff going on the screen, it will even dip to around the 30s. So it's still playable somehow way with an old card like this. But then is the question, how will it perform when having 2 of them? Okay, so this game is a big surprise to me, because what you can see over here, it's running now 60 FPS stable. So we went from a single card that had struggling getting to the 60 FPS, with 2 cards we got going to hit the 60 FPS all the freaking time. And that makes this game just playable. Pretty cool in my opinion to see that this gives this game a very big performance boost.
But does it run Crisis? Let's find out.
So with Crisis, we had not a very stable frame rate and we're not even hitting the 60 FPS because this graphics card was not powerful enough. So I was wondering what will happen if we're going to grab 2 of them, slap them together, how of course the compatibility with this game and what kind of performance are we going to get. And is this game playable this way? But also Crisis was a very cool game that has a compatibility with the SLI function. As you can see, it has all different results with different games, but when you're looking at the specs, this game is now hitting the 60 FPS. It's still dipping, it's just fluctuating all over the place, but you can see that the game is playable this way. And I'm messing up my kill shot. Yeah.
Camuflaje activado. Blindaje máximo. Energía crítica. Velocidad máxima.
So very great example, you can see that it is not rendering a lot of stuff and is even peaking to 70 up to 80 FPS. It's just fun to see how a big improvement this second card is with this game. Okay, what happens if we're going to get a game like Mortal Kombat 9 that didn't even need a second card in the beginning? But what happens then? That is a fun fact, because we can see that it only utilized 11% of the second card. And the same story applies with this shooter rack. It runs just fine on 60 FPS. I did notice it dips here and there, but in general it was running 60 FPS and it runs just fine on all the high settings and full HD resolution. Well, when you take a close look at this game, the same story applies with Mortal Kombat. It doesn't really need the second card and it will not use it big time. Normally you would say SLI will, let's say, split up the function, but no, it only utilized the card for around 12%, even 7% sometimes. So we can conclude out of this video is that when you're having an SLI setup back at the day or nowadays, is that we're having some big improvements with some games. And not a 100% compatibility with every game, but you can see that some games has just a 100% boost up like Ridge Racer Unbounded or Crysis that has, let's say, more better performance, and we're having 60 FPS full HD but on low settings. Yeah, let me know in the comments what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the bell, becoming the Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.